what I gonna do right here? Let's go back. Way back, way back.
Back in the day.
Right back.
Back in the day.
Where we at?
Back in the day. It's time to go back in the day.
What?
Back in the days when I was in school, I loved causing ruckus and breaking every rule. Each day was full, thinking I was old school, free from regrets, playing cards like a fool. Out day and night, just home to eat. My house is full of anger, so I kicked it on the street.
Damn, how to get into this jam? To get out of this, I need a violent plan. Didn't know about karma when I was young. Just wanted to crack heads and have some fun.
Back in the day, back in the day.
We used to waste our life away.
Back in the day, back in the day.
We used to love and learn to play.
Things were so easy, things were so sweet.
We used to kick it on the street.
Back in the day, back in the day.
When we did things our own way.
Wrote my first rap on my dad's answering machine when I was about 8 years old. And then when the rappers started coming out, I learned, my father's heritage was part African, and I thought, it's in my blood, I can do that. And I loved it. And I also loved music, and always knew I had a voice, and rap was the best way to use my voice and use my words so people could get a message from what I'm saying. I like to tell stories that mean something, and hopefully inspire people. And sometimes you learn from the mistakes that you make in life, and I'm not afraid to rap about that stuff too. I formed little groups in high school years, and no one was as passionate as me. And then when it came into the security, I had a lot of spare time, so I started writing things that were going through my mind, or about my childhood, also things that were happening at work. I filled a whole, notebooks like that of lyrics, and I just kept writing. And sometimes I go to parties and freestyle and stuff like that. Just always enjoyed it, always loved it. Back in those days, to me, it just seemed impossible to break it through as a rapper in Australia. It was just so many challenges. I didn't know how to go about it. I didn't come from a particularly wealthy family. I was pretty broke, to be honest. So as soon as I could get out of school, I started to work and get some dollars together. Things started to come to fruition. That's how Bouncer formed. The goal was worldwide domination. The sky was the limit. I wanted to do gigs just to get out there. Merv was talking about filling up stadiums. We were going to fill up the MCG. That was our goal. So the sky was the limit. We were the world's first bouncing rapper crew. We saw ourselves like maybe NWA or something like that, which was big inspiration of mine and Merv's. But yeah, the sky was the limit. That's how we saw it.
Bouncer, step into the monster, nothing. If you try to start something, I'll take you out, no doubt, I'll bounce ya. You can always count on the bouncer.
It's actually fresh.
I've always had an interest in hip hop. Probably my first cassette tape that I had, a Run DMC. From there, I've always had a keen interest in hip hop. Got into Snoop and Dr. Dre and all sort of the stuff that we were listening to here in Australia. NWA was huge. You get down to Central Station, you buy your cassettes, and off you went. I never actually thought I would do hip hop or rapping or anything like that. But when I was bouncing the clubs, I worked with Benny. And he had a keen interest in hip hop and rapping. One day he came back to my place and I put some beats together using the PC, and Benny showed me what he could do, and I thought it was pretty cool. So when he went away, I wrote out Bouncer.
Bouncer, fucking bouncer.
Standing on the door with my number around my neck, number 323, and I'm hanging with my set. 9 hours gone and I'm itching for a blue, cause I'm getting bored and there's nothing much to do. Along comes Clown and he wants in the club, but I eject his punk ass and I tell him that he's drunk. And then I took it back to Benny and said, what do you think? And he thought it was pretty cool. So then Benny put his verse down and we had our first single, which was Bouncer. Gave it out at the clubs, and a few of the DJs, were listening to it, and somehow or another we got in touch with CJ Dolan, who produced it, remastered it, and did it again in the studio, which is pretty cool. I started bouncing when I was 27, working Revolver nightclub for 7 years. And when I first started there, Benny was the head security, and we did the doors together for quite a few years. The busy Saturday nights, it was good fun. So it was easy to get content about, what we're going to rap about. It was sort of working the streets, dealing with, drunks and thugs and all sorts of stuff. So we thought that would be easy to put into music, and that's pretty much how it happened. There wasn't a goal. It was just take it day by day and just write about our experiences working the clubs pretty much. And not just working the clubs, just other stuff that happened in our life. you know, whatever it was. So there was no end goal. It wasn't about, you know, making an album or doing anything particular. It was just sort of getting some stuff out there and seeing how it turned out.
Me, Bugsy was a tag, and the tag came about because I used to love the old gangsters from the bootlegging days. There was Benjamin Siegel, and I'm actually Benjamin Sinclair, so Benjamin Bugsy Sinclair made sense, and that's how it came about for me.
Nice one, Benny. Merv the Perv. It's an interesting one. I was hanging out with some mates when I was about 15, and one of my mates, Glenn, his dad was a bit of a character, and he used to always call me Merv the Perv. And he used to always tell me a story about this guy that used to walk around the neighbourhood with a long trench coat called Merv the Perv. So it kind of just stuck after that. It's quite funny. So, I mean, I never really kind of used it much, but I thought with the hip hop name it was quite funny, so I didn't care. So
he occasionally wears a trench coat too. When we got the call to do this interview, I just thought I'd reminisce a little bit through some of the clips on YouTube. I've got to Bouncer Bouncer, and I've got a little 2-year-old, and you heard the first verse, bouncer, 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 fucking bouncer. And then it rips into my, you know, working on the streets of Chapel. I knock back this bloke who offers me a pineapple. And the little guy's feeling it. All right, it's coming up to the next hook. Bouncer, 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 bouncer. And the kids start singing it. Bouncer, bouncer, I'm like, shit. Bouncer, bouncer, fire truck, bouncer. So for a little 2-year-old to pick it up, man, that's got to be my favourite bouncer song, for sure.
Yeah, nice. Oh, that's a tough one. I actually don't know. Pretty much most of my lyrics are really inappropriate, so I kind of struggle with kind of thinking back to what I wrote about now, 15 years later. But to be honest, I always thought Get in the Kitchen was pretty funny.
Merv the Perv's name and food's my game. I'm hungry, my stomach's in pain. My tummy's raw from not eating at all. All I can think of is pizza galore.
And even my wife likes that one, so I'll just go with the Get in the Kitchen song.
Working in the clubs, having people rock up, know your song, and you know, having fun with it. Just the camaraderie of everyone getting behind us at its peak, I think was probably one of the highlights. You know, and the support that we got from everyone. Just you know, music at the end of the day, to see people move and to see people be entertained and feel it. World domination aside, you know, that's the best goal, just to see people feel your music and you know you've achieved something. So how do you measure success? Well, you know, for a 2-year-old to feel your song, I'm a very successful man, and I'm proud of everything we've achieved.
For me, it was just a launch gig. I really enjoyed that. That was just everything coming together. You know, just performing and playing at Revs and filling up the front room. It was really cool, and all friends and that coming down to check us out. So yeah, it was definitely the launch gig at Revs.
Some of our gigs, there was some trials and tribulations, but it all made it entertaining. And you have to think on your feet. You know, you're under pressure. You've got a crowd in front of you, and I think probably our bouncing experience helped with some of those situations. There were times where things didn't quite go as planned, but yeah, we had to think quick and go on with the show. The show goes on no matter what. You know, that's the beauty of live entertainment. You know, people can expect the unexpected at times and embrace that and be part of it. And when they do see you on TV or hear your song on radio, they say, I remember that crew. I remember when, you know, dudes jumped on stage and tried to steal the microphone or whatever it was, you know. But you know, those little improv moments can they're memorable, and you learn from them and you get better from them as well.
Yeah, one of our first gigs, I think we played in front of about 1,000 people at the Prince of Wales.
No, it was more, man. It was like, yeah, it was packed.
Yeah,
2,000-3,000.
Yeah, and it was like we played with UMI, something for Kate, Dex Turner, all the top Australian artists, and we were backstage with them, which was pretty cool. But I think my mic didn't work at the start of something happened.
Well. So
I don't remember.
This was, I've actually got a poster of that gig up in my gym there. When it comes to footy, I barrack for North Melbourne. Coincidentally, Bouncer got asked to do a charity gig to support North Melbourne because they wanted to send them interstate. So we were the only hip hop crew on, and our regular singer was out, MIA, as usual, Kaiser Soze. So we got another big Samoan guy, Fred, and we rehearsed flat out. This was like I was training for a fight. We were relentless with our rehearsal, and we nailed it every time. But as we said, on the night, things change, and we had one of the North Melbourne football greats, Glenn Archer, come up on stage, and the crowd was cheering. It was like at the MCG, someone just scored a goal. The cheer was that loud. So I think our thing was, we'll come out like we're running through the banner or something like that, and as we ran out, as we hurried onto stage, Merv's mic cord fell out, and our opening song was Bouncer. And it was, so Merv starts that track, and standing on the door with my number around my neck, right? So it might have been the first 4 bars. But standing on the door with my number around my neck, I'm looking at Merv, there's no sound. I could hear crickets in the background. It was like ridiculously quiet. And I looked at Big Fred, and Fred's like, I don't know if he's trying not to laugh or whatever. And then I go, number 3, 2, 3, and I'm hanging with my set. And then Merv's got the mic cord back in, and then he jumped in. And yeah, look, we got a big round of applause. You know, got a few hugs in the crowd and all that sort of stuff, so they embraced us. But it was a rock crowd. It was a tough gig anyway.
We were second that night. We were like one of the final performances.
We were leading up to You and I, the big guns.
We thought we'd be right at the start,
Yeah.
you know, our first performance, but ended up being the second last of the night.
The guy that ran it, Tim Rogers from You and I, he's massive in the rock scene, and he just really liked our music. But as soon as I gave him our first set, he loved it. And yeah, so it gave us the opportunity, which was good. He's a top bloke too, Tim.
Well, during the week I was driving in my car listening to SEN, and he was talking about Bouncer.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the radio, so it was quite cool.
Yeah, it was a great first Bouncer gig, you know, and even like I'd freestyled and rapped and mucked around. We rapped in front of mates for years, but to hit the big stage like that first off was that was definitely a once in a lifetime experience. We'll always remember it.
Yeah, it was more than I ever expected. I mean, I came into it, you know, for shits and giggles, and next thing you know, we're playing in front of a couple of thousand people or whatever it was. So there you go. Bouncer just sort of phased off. We just became busy. I think a few years after we did our album, we did a track, World is a Play, which was quite fun.
My words cast spells like magic wishing wells. Break your mind out of prison cells. Do you live in hell? Are the mistakes you're making of your own creation? The mirror on the wall reveals the enemy you're facing.
We were going to do a second album with DJ Relic, and we kind of got in the studio, sort of started, but it just didn't click, and Benny wanted to pursue a solo career, and I just didn't really have time, and so yeah, we just sort of went our separate ways, really.
Yeah, it was, I think, you know, music's timeless, you know, and if you do songs that people can relate to, it lasts forever. So the Bouncer legacy will always live on no matter what. It can be really hard in this country. You know, you really have to, you're funding it all yourself. And for me and Merv, that meant how many sleepless nights working on the doors, in the studio the next day. But we were still passionate enough to pursue it and keep going with it. And, you know, let's just say maybe just things are on hold for a little while. You never know what can happen in the future.
Yeah, you gotta believe in yourself. Only one thing holding you back. That's right. Negativity has no place in my world, 'cause nothing comes easy. All my life not new to me. Been around the block before you cross the street. Take it as a sign, don't stop, believe. I can see it in your eyes, it's fear, just breathe. It's not the first time you feared defeat. You've done the hard work, now just repeat everything you see, each night you dream. Let's rise up now, let the whole world see. Nothing in this life is out of reach. Reach your hands up high, let action speak. The moment's here, you're at your peak. The battle's won before you sleep. There's only one thing that's holding you back. Get your mind right now, it's time to attack. Remember you're a fighter, get yourself on track. You took a few hits, but your heart's intact. You were born a fighter. You gotta believe it. You gotta earn your right up. 'Cause nothing comes easy. Come on, think deep, yo. Nothing comes easy, like I said before. I'll say it again till I'm out the door. Worked all my life, let's get the reward with hands up high, the crowd applaud. Wanna embrace all this means you see. Can't put no price on memories. Life is short, not your legacy, so do your best to live your dream.
Fundamentally, Bouncer, you know, started in his bedroom, really. I mean, don't take that long way, guys.
Fucking bouncer.